Hello there. Welcome to my website. Glad you're looking over the various postings I have going on and want to tell you a little bit about what's happening in Louisiana. I'm pleased to see we're getting a lot more viewers from all over the country. And so you may not know so many of the oddities that go on down the deepest of the deep southern states. Our Louisiana legislature is in session now, and it's a different time. A number of new legislators. We have a new governor who has his train on the highest speed you could go. There's been three special sessions, a regular session now, and he's also talking about another special session to rewrite the Louisiana Constitution. I follow it with interest and I write a good bit about it, although I try to cover other news throughout the country. But I would comment on the Constitutional Convention. It's very personal to me. You see, I'm the author, one of the authors of the present Constitution that we have in Louisiana now, written back in 1972, called CC 73, Constitutional Convention, and is finally offered to the people in 1973. I was an author of the legislation to create the Constitution, and I was also a delegate to the Constitution. I wrote a good bit of the Constitution. I was chairman of the Finance Committee, co-chairman, along with our former governor, Buddy Roemer, before his passing. We've been good friends for many, many years, and we wrote the finance section with the help of our committee of CC 73. The legislature is moving very fast. The governor wants to call a special session, host over 2, 3, 4 weeks a convention where the legislature themselves act as the delegates. And then the governor has, I believe, 27 appointments of anybody that he wants to the convention. So it'll be his baby. And I can understand that with some laws, but when it comes to the Constitution, like I say, this affects every single person. And it shouldn't be a plumber's manual as to how to fix this or to handle this. It should be the overall concept. Louisiana Constitution is about 85,000 words, if I remember correctly. The United States Constitution, that's been in place for several hundred years longer, is about 8,000 words. So do we really need to put a wordy constitution together? Present Constitution, of course, there's all kinds of vested interests, some good, some bad, that want to be part of any convention. They have certain advantages or certain protections they want to have in this constitution, and I understand it. The philosophy that I had during the CC 73 was, look, we got to have a streamlined contribution or their constitution, and the legislature in their wisdom should have the flexibility to deal with priorities. If you dedicate all kinds of funds in a constitution to the highways and to teachers' salaries or to retirement systems, well, of course, with a large catastrophe takes place, and we've certainly had our share here in Louisiana, there's no funds to deal with issues like that because so much of the funding is dedicated and cannot be touched because it's in the Constitution. Now, some people think that's nothing wrong with that, a good idea. I don't. I think that if you're responsible, that legislators should come down and make judgments based on what resources they have. If you don't like what they're doing, vote them out of office. That's the simple way to get rid of them all. That's the best term limits there is. Just your vote on election day. So I remember when I was a delegate. But I might take this first. My grandfather-in-law, a fellow named John Dale, who was the perfect gentleman and the senior citizen of Concordia Parish, had the oldest law firm there with his brother that I was a member of. Well, I think it was the oldest law firm in the state, and he had served in a number of capacities as far as being in public life. Very successful lawyer, formed a very successful bank up that way. He asked me to come join and practice law with him. He was a delegate to the 1921 Constitution. And here I'm elected as a delegate to the 1972 Constitution, CC 73, if you will. We stayed in the same apartment in the Pentagon Barracks in Baton Rouge. He shared the same apartment that I had when I was a senator there, and that he had back in 1921. He was a delegate, and I was a delegate. And he was one of the longest serving delegates that survived. And I know there's not too many of us left in CC 73. In any event, we took our time, a year's time. Delegates were elected back then. The governor had some appointee powers. The delegates were elected back then so that voices could be heard all over the state. And we just didn't rush. We took our time to really delve in to constitutional reform. I'd share this anecdote with you. Buddy Romer went on to become governor, beat me, quite frankly, in the governor's race in 1987. Buddy and I have always been good friends, up to the time of his death. And we were co-chairman of the finance committee. And what we do, after the convention met all day long for 8 or 9 hours, Buddy and I'd hit the tennis courts together and play several sets of tennis. Then we'd mosey over to a place called the Pastime, local pizza and beer location in downtown Baton Rouge. We'd drink a few beers and eat pizza and write the finance section, delving to the priorities we had as we put the finance section together to present to the whole committee. Sometimes some of the committee members would join us. Point I'm making, it was deliberative. We took our time. We reviewed what had happened in the past. We compared our Constitution to other constitutions all over the country and put together what I thought was a good document. Well, little by little, the legislature allowed constitutional amendments. I believe there's 214 constitutional amendments, and watered down the effectiveness of the current Constitution. We need a new Constitution. When I ran for governor against Romer back in 1987, I wrote a 180-page document called the Brown Papers. And one of the first priorities I mentioned in that document was the call for a new Constitution. Well, 37 years have gone by, and we're still looking to have a new Constitution. So, governor and legislature, there's nothing wrong with your commitment to a new Constitution. Just don't go in haste. Take your time. You know, legislators are pretty tired out. They've had 3 special sessions. Then they've had a regular 60-day session. Now the governor is talking about a new session to have this convention. And the governor's paid pretty well to stay full-time in the state capitol. Legislators are part-time. I was a state senator for 8 years, and I was a sole practicing lawyer. I needed to carry on my law practice to support my family. The minutiae back when we had no salary when I was a delegate, rather when I was a senator. So you need some time to come home, and these legislators need a break. And if the governor will take his time, I think he'll still get a very good Constitution and do it in a deliberative, responsible way. You can read about my thoughts in my new column that's now posted on this website here at jimbrownla.com. Look over some of the interesting things we have, some of the past columns. I've been writing columns for 20 years, so lots of things to get your teeth into. Glad you're watching today, and we'll be back. Hope you'll tune in again next week as I write a new column. We'll have a chance to talk some more. Take care.